the championship ahead of his teammate Florian Strauss and Ben Crooks, who have been leading the championship ever since round 2. And we'll see what happens here. We're just going to join us just in the middle of qualifying, so just get this system up live for you now. As you can see there, it's Ben Crooks who is leading the standings at the moment with a great performance at the moment from John Wilson. He's very, very fast in practice, the fastest of anybody, and it will be interesting to see where he comes out. Ben Crooks just setting a new fastest time, improving even more. 54.120, 54.035 is the fastest I've seen from anybody. That was from John Wilson during qualifying. As he heads around the circuit, 3.5 tenths down though. James Johnson is fastest of anybody so far after the first sector, coming down to the hairpin now. This Pukekohe Park is extremely short, as you can see from the lap times, which means the racing will be extremely close once again. He heads out of the hairpin. He's way, way down after that, so obviously made a mistake somewhere. It's fast, sweeping final corner with a crest at the top, which loosens your car up. And John Wilson again is going very, very quickly in this session. He's 0.07 up after just the first sector. Follow him now, on board with him, see what he can do. He comes around the hairpin, heavy cambered in, as you can see, a heavy, heavy braking zone, braking for 180 miles an hour. And John Wilson is still up. He's lost a hundredth of a second, but he's still right in the hunt to beat Florian Strauss's time, which is a 54.071. Great lap there from Florian Strauss. He's looking to get back on the horse and get back to winning ways. John Wilson, a 54.150. Great lap there from John, but still only third. And James Johnson looked like he was on a fast lap. He's 1 tenth down on Strauss at the moment. It looks like he's going to improve from his outside the top 8 position, 9th at the moment. And a 54.232 for James Johnson, extremely close at the top. Lightning now, a 54.180. Goes into 4th. 5th place is championship leader, 6th place, sorry, is championship leader Tobias Schlemer. 7th is Jesper Torborg. He was on pole position at Oran Park, remember. He's looking for his first victory of the season. It's unusual for Jesper to go a whole season without a victory, but time is running out for him. Out round 8. Not been able to get one so far. He goes up into 6th place. And Florian Strauss is absolutely flying, a 53.801. That is the best lap time I've seen from anybody in any session over the last 3 weeks during practice and pre-practice. 2nd place, Ben Crooks responds with a 53.919. Everyone's raising their game to answer to the increased standards during qualifying at the moment. Still 14 minutes to go, so plenty of time for people to improve. John Wilson is a 54.014, his personal best, but still only in 3rd position. Ben Crooks has gone purple in the first sector. Now going to be all about the run down this straight into this very, very tight, very, very cambered hairpin. Some drivers taking it in 1st gear, some take it in 2nd. 1st gear is probably a little bit faster, but 2nd be better for the race. The tyre degradation, not spin those tyres up, and Ben Crooks again has gone faster in the 2nd sector. He's fastest of anybody in both the 1st and the 2nd sectors. Can he get it into the apex at the final corner? He can't. He's going to cost him, I think. Going to cost him around about half a tenth of a second. Going to come across the line of 53.881. He's lost, though, that time that he gained. It's a new personal best from Ben Crooks, but just missing the apex there ever so slightly at the final corner costs you dearly. Jumping over those curbs into the 1st complex. And out of there once again, Ben Crooks does not complete that lap. Anders Nielsen is, there's Jesper Torborg spinning around and around as well, so not a good 10 seconds there for 3ID. Anders Nielsen is now jumped up into 7th position. Those who watched the WTM last year, WTM Season 2, during round 5, saw a fantastic performance from Anders during that race, storming from way back on the grid. 26th he started, and he stormed from 26th to 2nd in a half-an-hour race. It really was a fantastic performance in his Holden, after he was challenging for the win in the first race and got taken out by an errant M3 spinning back onto the track. And what could have been a double win for him was in fact a double win for Ben Crooks. And it's not been great for Ben Crooks lately. In fact, 360 Racing have taken the last 3 championship wins. Hidden Valley, Strauss took his first win of the season, and Eastern Creek and Oran Park, where Tobias Schlemo came out on top with his clever one-stop strategies and keeping out of harm's way, not being involved in any attrition whatsoever, and he's now the championship leader as a result of all that. Last 3 races won by 360 Racing. Leitner, again, always strong, always in that top 6. Never been really challenging for a win here in this series. He finished second at Oran Park, but it was a distant second. It'd be nice if he could make the step up also as well. James Johnson was a very close second at Eastern Creek to Tobias Schlemo, and he'll be looking to try and improve as well. Didn't have the greatest of times here in 2010. Taken out, in fact, by Ben Crooks' technical problem when his wheel failed coming down this straight here. Round about just after this bend is where Ben Crooks' car failed, and it absolutely wiped out James Johnson. He finished way back in the field. Myself, I finished 4th in this race last year. In fact, I was on for a podium until a silly last lap mistake gifted the podium Kevin Clark. Something I'm still very sore about to this day, as you can probably tell from my tone of voice. But I did go very well here actually at Pukekohe. In fact, I was faster than Ben Crooks here last year, so it's one feather to my cap, but it was a rare occurrence indeed. And very unlikely I would be anywhere near, and nobody is really near Ben Crooks apart from those top drivers here today. Florian Strauss almost into the 53.7. It really was a fantastic lap there from Florian. Really put all the sectors together. Of course, we saw that he's not the fastest in every sector. He must be the fastest in the final sector only, because Ben Crooks is fastest in the first 2. Strauss is building up for another run here. Let's go on board with him and see his technique as he heads around the circuit. Very, very difficult to flow the car through here. Trying not to lock the brakes or brake too early. Hit the camber beautifully. He did hit the camber fantastically there. He's 0.03 down, 2 down on his own time. Easily get back. He can easily get that back even. One of the RPM cars there getting out of the way for him as he heads down the straight. Full chance. 6th gear, braking now very, very hard down into 1st gear. Fires out of there, quickly changes it up 1 gear also as well. Now going through the gears once again, lightly just bring the car across to the left hand side. Not a difficult corner this at all, but he just upsets the car and the rhythm slightly for this final corner, which is off camber and over a crest. You can't hardly see the road ahead of you, as you can see. He's going to head over the line now. It's going to be a 53.917. He's not improved. Another fantastic lap there from Strauss. He's not improved, but that lap would still be good enough for the front row. A little bit more untidy through here this time, pushing very, very hard, keeping the flow through. There's 2 different techniques through there. You can go wide on the banking or cut right to the inside. 1/4 of a second down, he pulls right over once again. Ben Crooks now is 0.047 down. Not as close as he was last time, but if he can string it all together, he'd still challenge. Goes down into the corner extremely hard. See the difference in style there. Ben likes to slide the car into the entry. Florian Strauss is much more orthodox, as it were. A little bit out of shape in the middle of the exit of that corner. You see the car washing from one side to the other as you spit over there. Trying not to put the power on too much. A bit of sideways action there from Crooks, and it's a 53 again, but not good enough for pole position. John Wilson is fighting this car. Look at this. Fighting the car as he comes across the top of the crest into turn 1. So difficult, this turn 1, because knowing you have to be back on the right hand side or straight away for this corner here. Turn 2, then turn 3 and turn 4, all in one big flowing move. Try and squeeze the power on out of that corner there. It's a 10th down, so it's got some work to do really. 10 doesn't sound very much, but it's such a short lap. Zeno Racing driver coming back to full form after an absence during the middle part of the season. Ben Crooks, a personal best, the purple sector, fastest of anybody in the first sector. And Tobias Schlemo now has dropped to 8th. He's just 4/10 back from pole position, but he is in 8th position at this current time. Steve Davis, a great performance there in 7th. Not one renowned for his qualifying, usually for his racing. John Wilson does not improve. Go and check in now with Ben Crooks, obviously. Some mistake there. Mr. Tolbo going back out on the track. No, but Lightning now as well. He's going straight off the track into the barriers. quitting back to the pits. James Johnson here in some traffic. There's his teammate up ahead, Yara Venari, and one of the Sweekos cars getting out of the way. In fact, talking of Sweekos, where are they on the track? Anders Nielsen is 9th, Gary Lennon is 10th. It's not really what they will be looking for. They're looking to both be on the top 8 if possible. Ike Roding is in 10th. Good to see him back after his absence at Eastern Creek. And Gary Lennon's going to cross the line with 54.537. He needs to find just a couple of tenths of a second to even improve, actually. He's very, very close in the top 10. 4 tenths of a second covering the whole of the top 10. And Shell Stenbeck is in 12th. So the good friends, Nielsen, Lennon and Stenbeck, 9th, 11th and 12th. Ernesto Brock continuing his maturity and in performance, really. 14th is David Yunt. 15th is Yara Venari. 16th is Philip Antoni, who's had a very, very consistent season indeed. I'm extremely pleased with his performance overall. 17th is Marcel Bonnet, as we see him just correcting himself on a mistake. 18th is Nikola Ilivanov. 19th is Josh Barton. 20th is Giuseppe Churchill. 21st is Lee Palmer. He had a very strong run at Eastern Creek. Looks like he's really racking this car at the moment. 4 tenths down in the first sector already. So some drivers finding this track to their liking, some not quite so. 22nd is Jeff Dobbin, and 23rd at the moment is Roy Magnez. 23 drivers is all we have at the moment. Lawrence Strauss goes out once again. He's still on that provisional pole position. 5 minutes to go in qualifying. Here is Ben Crooks. What has he got for the second sector? Not very much, doesn't look like, because he goes out of shape there. Going out of the hairpin. John Wilson also a quarter of a second down. What can Jesper Tolborg do? Maybe he was on pole at Oran Park. Had strong performances all season, just never really been in the mix for an overall race win. Just 0.025 down in that first sector, so let's see what he can do. Front left on these cars really taking a huge battering around this circuit because it's so short. Because there are only 2 left-hand turns here. Here's one of them. He's 10th down. Keeps it like that, he will move up to 3rd position. Again, the car washing around as you try and turn it in. The understeer kicking in, and then the oversteer as you come over the crest. The delicate balancing out through there, and it's lost him the time. That's where he's losing all that time in that final sector. Ike Roding now up into 6th. That means James Johnson is down to 7th, the second place driver from last event at Eastern Creek. 8th place now is Steve Davis. It means 9th place is series leader Tobias Schlemmer. He's got plenty of work to do, and he's not going to improve in this lap either because he's 5 tenths down already. Steve Davis has not improved either. What has James Johnson got? He needs to be more up there, really. He's not that far off in terms of time, but in terms of absolute grid places, he's not really in the ballpark. Ike Roding will be extremely pleased with that. And Ben Crooks once again is fastest of anybody in that first sector. Obviously flowing his car through there better than Strauss is doing. That final sector where Strauss was so strong. Crooks just missed the apex ever so slightly. If you keep the momentum up around the outside of the corner, you can keep your speed up and the time, and indeed he has done. He's actually improved. He's the fastest again of anybody. That's the fastest second sector of anybody so far in this race. Ben Crooks comes out of the final corner, sideways out the final corner. What has he got? He goes to provisional pole position. A great lap there from Ben Crooks, even beating Strauss in the final sector also as well. That was all or nothing from Ben Crooks, and he got all. He got all. Understandably, after that fantastic lap time, he is slightly down. Just tends to happen with drivers. They do a fantastic lap time, and then the next time around they're just not really quite concentrating, and the next time, and it's just a slower lap next time around. Strauss now to start another fast lap. Obviously a slower lap there. Just made a mistake and decided just to coast around. 360 Racing swapping to Ford for the rest of the season. Controversial decision, really. They were Holden, if anybody recalls, from the first 7 meetings of the season. But now they've switched to Ford. And it hasn't really served them well at the moment because Strauss is in 2nd and Tobias Schlemmer is all the way back in 9th. 10th is Nielsen, 11th is Lennon, Stenbeck is 12th. So those good friends or line astern on the grid at the moment. Brock, Bonnet, Antonia and Vinari complete the top 16. John Wilson comes out of the final corner once again to stand another hot lap. Can he get, it's going to be a tall order really, to get another 0.3 of a second? That's how much Crooks has pulled out on the rest of the field. That really is fantastic. Go from Wilson back to 10th, it's only 0.2 of a second, but back from Crooks back to 10th, it's 0.5 of a second. So that extra 0.3 really was a fantastic effort there from Crooks. No driver other than the ones from 3ID or 360 Racing have sat on pole position since the opening round at Yas Marina, when Wayne Douglas sat there for Flying Canadian Racing. And no driver apart from Matt Farrow, the opening round also as well, has won a race in this series outside of those top two powerhouse teams. All the wins this season be shared between 4 drivers, and 7 of them between 3. What has Wilson got to offer? I don't think he's got enough to offer, really. I think it's going to be between Crooks and Strauss is back in the pits, which means that Ben Crooks is going to be on pole position, I do believe, with that fantastic lap that we followed through. John Wilson down towards the hairpin. We'll have time for one more lap after this, of course. 0.6 down, he's going slower and slower, really. Jesper Torborg still in that 4th position. He has improved his lap time, but not enough to move Wilson from the inside of row 2. The 10th down after the first sector, that's not out of the question that he could improve, of course. Just needs to improve his lap time by 0.04 of a second, and he will move up a place on the grid. Still, Tobias Schlemmer is in 9th, and that's, I think, where he will end up as well. Here he is out the final corner. Can Tobias Schlemmer improve? No, he can't. And I don't think he crossed the line in time to set another lap either. So Tobias Schlemmer, that's the headline news from this qualifying session, aside from Crooks' fantastic lap time. Tobias Schlemmer, the championship leader, is in 9th position here at Pukekohe Park for the race. 6th is Ike Roding, 5th is Norbert Leitner at the moment, 4th is Jesper Torborg. He just cannot quite get in front of John Wilson in terms of lap time. Whether John Wilson can stay there during the race, I'm not sure. It's going to be quite ragged during the races this season so far. And John Wilson going into the 53s there with that amazing final corner. Came flying over the grass and did a 53.905. That was incredible. He did very, very well to even hang on to that. Never mind set a 53.905. He'll be very, very pleased with that indeed. That was really quite astonishing there from John Wilson. But first place and on pole position is Ben Crooks. He's very, very pleased with that indeed. That is, of course, his 2nd pole position in a row after Easton Creek. So he'd take a double win here in the World Touring Masters. So this track obviously suits him. Obviously goes well here. Despite the fact he didn't do too well in 2010. The World V8 Supercars season now moves into its 8th warm-up round of the season, of course. 10 minutes to go before the start of this race. There will be a formation lap, so tension will build. Lawrence Strauss just quit from the game. Obviously do some maintenance and come back once again. But there is the grid. 2nd row is Wilson and Torborg, so the two 3ID drivers at 1st and 4th. 5th is Leitner. 6th is Ike Roding. 7th is James Johnson. 8th is Steve Davis. 9th is Tobias Schlemmer. Won't be happy with that at all. It was a very fine line between him being 9th and him being 6th. Just a 10th of a second. Anders Nielsen also almost usurping Schlemmer for that 9th, but Nielsen rounds out that top 10. And looking further back down the grid, the 6th row is Lennon and Stenbeck. 7th row is Brock and Antonia. Another decent performance there from Antonia. 15th is Marcel Bonnet. I think that's his best of the season so far, in fact. 16th is Jari Venari. So RPM struggling ever so slightly here. 7th and 16th. 17th was David Yunt. 18th, Giuseppe Churchill. 19th was Jeff Dobbing. He's had a very solid season so far indeed. 20th is Nicola Illivanov. 21st is Josh Barton. 22nd is Lee Palmer. 23rd is Roy Magnus. We're missing a few drivers here today. Within Levesque was in earlier but had some connection problems. Roy Magnus is well off the pace. They're a second off driver in front of him, so really he's not going to be a factor in today's race if that's the sort of pace he has during the race. The rest of the field looks like it's going to have extremely close and extremely competitive racing. You see drivers are reaching speeds of almost 280 kilometers an hour. It's 175 miles an hour by my rough calculations. Not for a lack of top speed that Schlemo is the bottom of the pile. Drivers are telling me that the front left has really been taking a huge hammering here at this track. But if you can keep the front left in order, then the one-stop strategy looks like it will be the best strategy here today. Crooks getting some laps in here at the moment. The race pace looks like it will be in the low 54s. I've seen the 53s in the race. I do not believe, unless someone really goes for it from the opening section, opening laps, but not really call for, because you can just spin up your tyres and ruin them in the opening laps, and then you've got nothing to fight with later on in the session. So today is keeping those tyres in good condition, not spinning them up at any point, because it all just adds up at the end of the day. Spin them up once, they heat up, and they've got less grip, and then you spin them up again because you've got less grip, and so on and so forth. Very busy racetrack actually around Ben Crooks at the moment. Lightning get out of the way, one of the 360 cars also as well. Just a quick session for drivers to get themselves calmed down from that exciting qualifying session. Get a feel for their cars with their race setup on, which often, of course, will have less camber, less tyre pressures, because they build up over the course of a stint. Of course, they will be a lot heavier with the 75 litres of fuel on, or around about that. We mentioned for Ernesto Brock as well, he really has taken like a duck towards the Division 1 at the moment. We saw him struggling in the first couple of times he drove in Division 1. And he is a teammate of Fernando Alvarenga, who did feature in Division 1 at Oram Park. Has not featured since. See Ben Crooks in a 54-0. I think that is on race setup, so we may see 53 during the race. In fact, all really depends on that start. Crooks has not got off the greatest starts this season so far. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, the pit lane is very long and very slow as well. If we see from James Johnson's point of view, look how slow it is in there. Just 40 kilometers an hour, while drivers are driving past at more like 200. That's a very long pit lane as well. Comes right next to the penultimate turn, not even the last turn. It goes right inside the last turn and rejoins just before turn 1. So a huge amount of time is lost if you two-stop. Therefore, it looks like the one-stop strategy will be the best. It has been the best strategy so far this season, actually, since the update to the mod, which was pre-Oram Park. And drivers have to be very careful about not speeding in the pit lane also as well, making sure they know exactly where the cut-off point for pit exit and pit entry is. Of course, vital seconds, we won and lost in those pit stops. We saw at the last race James Johnson was extremely close and challenging Tobias Schlemmer for the win, but then lost 7 seconds in the pit stops, and that really put paid to any challenge he could mount. So it's all important. Get everything right. You've got to get the start right. You've got to get your lap times right. Not get involved in any trouble. Keep your speed up. Don't ruin your tyres. Make sure you concentrate and know exactly what's happening around you, but don't get distracted at the same time. Make sure you hit your marks in the pit stops. Make sure you go with the right strategy. Make sure you pit on the right lap. Don't push those tyres too far. Really is an art and a science all at the same time. And while you're doing all of that, make sure you drive extremely quickly as well. Sim racing may be easier than real life, but it doesn't make it easy. So just 2 minutes to go until the start of the race. Quick shout out to my sister also as well. It's her birthday today, so everybody send your congratulations in to her. 20 years old, no longer a teenager, but she still acts like one, unfortunately. And for those of you wondering why I am on the commentary booth rather than celebrating her birthday, it's because we went on Thursday night and celebrated her birthday then. So she's had her birthday celebration, it's all she gets out of me. But no, happy birthday to her. So, with just 20 seconds to go until the race session here, I suggest that you crack open a beer, sit back and enjoy this race as I take you through it, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. Foster's is my tipple of choice. A bit weak, but it is only the afternoon. And Ben Crooks looks on course to right the wrongs of his last few events. At round 5, he badly got stuck behind Amigo Rodriguez, and the 360 drivers got away from him, and he does that in the race. He's going to be penalised by the race stewards. And at Oran Park, he had a technical issue.
All non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
To hear those famous words, which I can never ever turn down, which annoys me. Again, we'd like to thank Race Department for bringing you this Touring Pro Series race. And Multi-BC, of course, because this is where we stream it on. And SimSync, who we use for all the drivers to make sure they get the right files at the right time in the right place. It is a fantastic tool. There is Ben Crooks on the pole position, as I was saying. Held behind Midi Rodriguez in Hidden Valley in round 5. Sorry, technical issue here, guys. 1 second. Just going to go back to the practice session quickly. Apologies, guys. We'll just get to the bottom of this now. I'll sort it out. I have to sort out 2 servers here at the same time. Okay, guys, it's going to be longer even than I anticipated. Okay, guys, we'll be back to racing in 9 minutes. Okay guys, we have the grid now sorted with 3 minutes to go until the race. I apologise for such a delay there. That was completely my fault, I'm afraid. I did not set this server up to be a formation lap with a standing start. I set it up to be a standing start, so that's very, very small. A very, very small mistake and oversight causes huge problem here, so I do apologise for doing that. It is all now solved. Unfortunately, the results file went missing at one point, so I had to ask the drivers exactly where they were on the track. I remember 90% of them, but not all of them. Every driver is now reassigned to their original positions where they earned in qualifying, and we will get the race underway as soon as we can. You saw from my frenetic typing there, I had to find out exactly where everybody was on the grid, and we are going to go racing as soon as possible, which means in 1 minute and 44 seconds time. That has left me in even more need of beer. Also, as well, if I sound like a space alien at some point, I do apologise for doing so. I just unfortunately my mic has decided to go on the blink lately, so until I get a new one, this is something I will just have to cope with. I can have a good old laugh at my expense at the same time also as well. So the race will be underway in 20 seconds time. As you can see, the time is ticking down there. The track is nice and warm here today, not overly and not underly. Underly? I'm not sure underly is a word, but it's not overly warm and not overly cold either. So we should be in for a good race here today. Sorry for the delay, but we should be in for a fantastic race. Pukekohe always provides superb racing. Not in the WTM Season 3 calendar, but it was a very, very difficult decision to make.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
Here we are now. Drivers will now form up on the grid. We'll go on board with Ben Brooks' car and look back at the rest of the field. Pit garage. And there is the rest of the field. There is Strauss on his left. Or on his right, as it were. On our left, as we look at it, right behind him is John Wilson. Got 2 Fords and 2 Holdens in the top 4 positions. And we've got 3 Fords in the top 8. And we are now heading off on this formation lap, looking back at the field. Crooks is on pole. Second, Lauren Strauss. Third, John Wilson. Fourth is the Dane Jesper Tolbo. Fifth is the Hungarian Norbert Leitner. Sixth is the German Eike Roding. Seventh is the Englishman James Johnson. Eighth is the Australian who lives in LA, Steve Davis. Really is a multinational series, this. Fantastic to see. They will have such great respect for each other as well. We always provide great racing. Aside from the first round at Yas Marina, there's been very, very little contact indeed between other drivers. Of course, there was the headline contact between Crooks and Strauss at Oran Park, but that was put down as a racing incident. And aside from that, it really has been fantastic. The standard of driving in this league has been very, very high indeed. We've had all of the updates before the rest of the public, in fact. Although everyone now is on the same mod as what we're using, 1.1. Team Oras have been very, very generous indeed and giving us updates as we go along. Drivers in this league have been benefiting from that. Benefiting from custom packs, of course, as well. Sponsors as well, benefiting from the advertising hoardings around the track as Ben Crooks comes towards the grid. Comes towards the starting slot, the pole position that he has rightfully earned with that superb lap time that he produced. Drivers almost driving into each other there on the grid. Just getting one last bit of heat into those tyres. Big art really, don't have to rough them up too much. Drivers now just inching forward into their starting base. Crooks giving quite a bit of space there in his starting slot. And the lights go out. Now, and away from the grid they go. Crooks gets off to a decent start there. And they all come off the grid very, very quickly indeed. And there is Crooks, he's in pole position. He's got the first place, he's got a great start there. And John Wilson has slotted into second place. There's a headline news there. Crooks this time gets the start that his pole position deserves. And Strauss in the background has gone wide. Up the inside is Torborg. We're not able to make it stick. Strauss keeps it around the outside. Down towards the first time at the hairpin, they come flying past the camera here. As you can see, the whole field streams down into the hairpin, and it's Strauss who's in third, it's Crooks who leads, it's Wilson in second, it's Wilson who's challenging, Wilson challenging for the lead. This is his best performance of the season, right in behind his fellow Englishman. And they come out of the final turn. Crooks is on the grass, Crooks is way off in the grass. Crooks just about gets it back on track again. Wilson has a run at him as a result. Wilson just clips the brakes on slightly there just to make sure he doesn't drill the back of the 3ID car. Crooks gets himself gathered. This is the time for Wilson to strike. If Wilson wants to win this race, he needs to get ahead of Crooks right here, right now, before Crooks settles into that metronomical rhythm that he can be associated with. Tobias Schlemmer's moved up one position to 8th. Steve Davis has moved down positions. James Johnson is up to 5th. Steve Davis is down to 9th position. He's in the middle of the pack at the moment. And Wilson is all over the back of Ben Crooks at this time. Wilson looking very, very tidy indeed. It's Crooks who's looking the more ragged of the two. It's Crooks who's swarming all over the back of the 3ID driver. It's Holden versus Ford at the front of the Ford's coming through on the inside. He's getting this drive off the corner, up the inside of the final corner. It's side by side now, coming towards turn 1. This is great stuff from John Wilson, sliding up the inside, and Crooks is just about has the high ground, goes around the outside, tucks back in once again. Strauss is there as well, and everyone slots their way through. Great driving there from both those drivers, so easy to make contact, but neither of them did. Great attempt from John coming out of the final corner, and great defensive work there from Crooks around the first corner to defend. He wants this championship. He does not want to let anybody get ahead of him. He needs to get back on track. And he's back into his rhythm once again, it looks like. But Wilson is so fast out of that corner. So fast. That's great stuff there from John. Third place is Strauss. He's got the best view in the house of this. Let's go on board with him. As they head out of the final turn, over that crest with cars just go so light, zooming under that bridge. Flying past. Back in the pack, Steve Davis is all over the back of Tobias Schlemmer for 7th place. Leitner's dropped back also as well. Steve Davis going up the inside. Back in the back, Steve Davis goes through on Norbert Leitner. Just show you a piece of that action. Here we are. And Schlemmer is the leader of the championship, but he is not having a good round here at all. And everybody is all over him. They're smelling blood there from the 360 Racing driver. He's trailing blood. Here is Norbert Leitner. He's got the two Swecos drivers in behind him. And Norbert's having a look up the inside of Tobias. The Hungarian on the German. Where is Tobias? He must be behind us because Norbert takes all of the ground. And Schlemo slots back one more position. They have the speed here today at all, it doesn't look like. Qualified back in 9th. He's now back to 9th in the race also as well. Ben Crooks, fastest lap of the race. As I said, once he got into the rhythm, he would be fine. And this is the battle at the front of the field. And Strauss. Now Oliver, Wilson's back to 4th. Wilson's back to 4th. What's happened there? Let's quickly catch up with that action. It's happened down at the hairpin, it looks like. Did he have a go at... No, he didn't have a go at Ben Crooks. Ben Crooks has pulled away a couple of car lengths. And it looks like Strauss is coming ever so slightly hot and gave John Wilson a small nudge out of position. Accidental contact indeed, but contact that's cost John Wilson that spot. But in fact, he's taken the position from Jesper Torborg now, coming down the straight as you can see, down into the hairpin, tracks the Danish driver teammate to Crooks. And though he couldn't get past Crooks, he got past Torborg very, very easily there. Slots back in. Fastest lap of the race once again from Ben Crooks. He's got a 2.3 second gap all of a sudden over Strauss and Wilson. Wilson's not going to be happy about the tap from Strauss at all. And now nobody looks like they'll be able to take the fight to Crooks. Strauss needs to get into the rhythm. And Wilson's under attack now from Torborg. Up in 12th place is Philip Antonio. He's had a good start to this race. 14th is Brock. 15th is Jon. Churcho's 16th. 17th is Dobbing. 18th is Lee Palmer. 19th is Yara Venari. Those are the top 20. After Lennon Nielsen in 10th and 11th. Here's John Wilson. He's on for a 3rd place result at the moment, which would be a great result for him. But it could be so much better because he's been really nerfed out position by Strauss. But Strauss has pulled away from him. In fact, Strauss has pulled back 0.2 of a second there on Ben Crooks. Can Strauss bring the fight back to the former championship leader? Ben Crooks has not won since round 4 at Barbagallo. And Torborg goes up the inside of John Wilson. Nice easy pass there. That is the main passing place, of course, at this track, because we saw John Wilson side by side do that dangerous final turn. Very unusual for someone to pass there. Not just because it's a dangerous turn, but because we saw the exact illustration of what happens, because the other driver has the outside for the first turn and then the inside for the rest of the first complex. Strauss drops a 1/10 of a second there on Ben Crooks. Further back in the pack, further away from this battle, John Wilson far too hot there into the second part of the complex, and James Johnson almost taking advantage, but Wilson gets a good exit from the corner. Johnson not so. Mike Rowling there is 6th. 7th is Norbert Leitner, coming under increasing pressure from Steve Davis, and Schlemo has Lennon and Nielsen still tracking him. Also back in 11th, the fight for 11th place, and it's in fact the 12th place. Sorry, it's Philip Antonio coming under attack from Stel Stenbeck, and Nestor Brock there as well, sliding up the inside touch, contact off the track goes Stenbeck. Stenbeck's gone way off into the guys. Contact again! Oh, they're both in the barrier. What are they doing? Oh, that's a shame. It was such a good battle. Brock looked like he could have made it through, but Stenbeck's gone back through both of them now as a result of that, and it's Junt who takes the position. Oh, what are they doing? Both in the barrier, they ended up there. Looked like Brock came right across on Antonio. They both ended up in the barrier, of course. So Antonio back to 14th and may have damage also as well. But that was some chaotic stuff there. Let's watch that on the replay. Let's go on board with Ernesto Brock. Contact there with Philip Antonio coming out of the corner. Oh, it just looks like Brock and Antonio just didn't give each other enough space. Both hitting the barrier, and through flew Junt, and of course Stenbeck recovering from his little faux pas as well. Great action there. And they're back in the hunt. Oh, that's Leitner off the track. Leitner's off the track. What's happened there? Let's go back and have a look at this. Leitner challenging Steve Davis, trying to go up the inside. And just gets it out of shape off the corner. Oh, that's the worst feeling when you're in a slow motion spin. You know there's no way of correcting it. You just have to brake and take your medicine. Poor Norbert Leitner not having a strong run here today as a result of that. Back at the front of the field, Ben Crooks is still extending that lead, despite the fact he's not in the low 54s. So obviously tyre degradation being quite high here. Sorry, we'll go back to live viewing so we don't get lag like that. It's John Wilson in 4th, Jesper Torborg in 3rd, so that's 3ID in 1st and 3rd, and it's 360 Racing in 2nd and 8th. So that's important for the team's championship also as well. Strauss pegged the gap there to Crooks. Crooks did not pull away that lap. Strauss needs to pull it back. Maybe relying on a good pit stop here for that to come to fruition. Schlemer looks like he's got a bit more pace gathering now. And look at that battle. The battle is for 3rd position, but it looks like it's just stagnating a little bit at the moment. But here is the battle for 7th. Looks like Schlemo has an opportunity to go past Steve Davis here. He was building up a bit of momentum. Again, Schlemo's smooth style coming to the fore. Oh, he's just so close to the back of Steve Davis there. Steve Davis, sensible driving. Didn't cut off the apex. It's exactly how you drive when someone's having a slight go. You have to give the other person just a slight bit of room because mistakes do happen. And Steve did. And of course, they both kept the position. And where's Ben Crooks gone? Where has Ben Crooks gone? Ben Crooks is off the track. Look at the damage. Ben Crooks has got huge damage. The car has a massive damage on the rear of the car. Has a puncture on the rear left, and the rear wing is completely wiped out. What on earth happened here? Ben Crooks, look at the damage off the final corner. Obviously, oh, he just lost it all by himself. This is the big danger with this corner. Coming off the corner, it just clips the grass. It spits him to one side, off the track, in at one end, and he just wiped off the entire back section. I think he caught the barrier at the end of the pit lane there. Maybe he did, I'm not quite sure. But whatever, Ben Crooks, what on earth? Oh, we've seen Florian Strauss shoot himself in the foot lately, but it's Ben Crooks' turn this time around. He crashes from the lead of this race. He's way back in the field. Oh, he's trying to keep this car straight. Going down the straight, he's going sideways on the all over the place. He's got no downforce and no rear tyres, of course. He's just trying to struggle his way back to the pits. Gets back onto the track. Roy Magnus has gone through now as well, so that's Crooks, of course, down to last position. Last and 23rd. And he goes into the pits now. Hopefully he doesn't spin in the pits almost. That would be disastrous. Not any much room to get through there. But this can be, I believe, his one stop for the race. He doesn't have to make an extra stop at any point, I don't think. But he's going to be here for a good minute at least. But Strauss is leading this race, and John Wilson now is in 2nd. We missed all the action here. John Wilson is in 2nd. Jesper Torborg is down to 4th. What on earth has happened to him? Try and see. Oh, here we are. Not a good lap for the 3ID drivers. Just braked slightly too late, sliding off the track, of course. Had to correct it, went into the gravel. Gravel slowed him down, of course. Managed to get out the gravel okay. He's back to 4th position. That's John Wilson now in 2nd. Florian Strauss, the driver who gave him a nudge, is now in the lead of this race. With John Wilson just a second back from him. Strauss will be loving this. 6th place now is Schlemo, which means they've all got past Steve Davis. While we were watching that action, thought that might happen. But Schlemo, Lennon and Nielsen have got past Steve Davis. Must have made a mistake somewhere, I think, because he's now some 5 seconds back from Tobias. And Ben Crooks has now just come out of the pits. That means he is 2 laps down, I believe. Do score points all the way back in the field here, so if he can just finish the race in 23rd, he will bag quite a few points. Oh, but Strauss! Strauss, what on earth has happened here? I'm sorry, looking away from the screen. What on earth has happened here? Strauss, let's look on the replay. I apologise for looking away from the screen and looking at Crooks coming out of the pits on my other screen. And Strauss has made a mistake at the hairpin as well, I believe. Yes, he has. Oh, almost spun it. Did very, very well to hold that, in fact. And now that means he's gone down to 3rd position. John Wilson is in the lead of this race. James Johnson is 2nd. Are we going to see the first winner of a race that's not from 360 or 3ID since the first race of the season here today? It'd be fantastic for the league if that happens. Ben Crooks is indeed 2 laps down. And no bonus points for fastest laps. There's no point in him doing that either. He will just keep the rhythm going and hopefully pick up some points from other people retiring. John Wilson, lead of this race, is pulling away. John Wilson is pulling away in the lead of this race. The guy from Zenna Racing really showing his mettle here. We saw him extremely quick in the opening race of the season, a little bit down in the next 2 or 3 races, and obviously, of course, a couple of absences, enforced absences. Sadly, his mother did die, of course, at a very young age, so it really has cut him up. He missed a couple of races as a result of that, but now he's back racing once again, and this will be making him feel so fantastic. He's in the lead of this race. Taking in a couple of rounds, just get back into the rhythm with the competition. Once you're out of the competition, it takes so much more to get back into it. James Johnson looks like he's struggling slightly. Strauss as well, getting out of shape into that corner there. Torborg's a few seconds back. Roding is in 5th. Great solid result there for Iger. One race off and then comes back again. Maybe we should do that all the time. Sixth place is the Gary Lennon. 7th is Tobias Schlemo. So Lennon's got past Schlemo as well now then. Lennon making his way through towards the front of the field. Eighth is Anders Nielsen. 9th is Steve Davis, almost losing it there off turn 4. Very, very easy to do. That's exactly where I did it last year in the final lap in 2010. I'm not quite sure why I did it, and I had a 3-second gap to the driver in front for a 2nd place, so I wasn't going to get that. Threw away a podium result. Never mind, we'll learn from that sort of thing. Ben Crooks is not going to repeat his double win that he had in WTM. Here is Ben Crooks, he's ahead of David Yunt, just unlapping himself. Looks like his car is fully restored, which is unusual because sometimes you find with big damage like that it does not get fully fixed. And into the pits has come Ernesto Brock, not quite sure why. Maybe he's going for an early strategy because it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with his car. Replay, if he's had an accident anywhere. Maybe he just wants to repair that damage he received in his clash with Antonio early in the race, and this is the earliest opportunity for him to pit. I'm not sure if Ben Crooks can make the fuel last the rest of the race, but we'll soon find out. Churcho's into the pits as well. This must be the earliest point for drivers to be able to pit. Oh, Churcho's into the pits because he's got huge damage on the front of his car, so I don't know what's happened to him, but whatever it is, got big damage. And here is the leader of the race, John Wilson. Not quite sure which is, there we are. Sorry about that, get back to live action. John Wilson has less than a second lead over James Johnson, who's pulled away from Florian Strauss ever so slightly. And James Johnson gets stronger and stronger as the stints go on. Been so good on worn tyres. We've seen John Wilson be a little bit more ragged on worn tyres in earlier races. Getting out of the way there is Roy Magnet. Giuseppe Churchill is still in the pits, still awaiting service. Still receiving service. And the gap between John Wilson and James Johnson is going across the line, just 0.3 of a second. Means Churchill is now 2 laps down also as well, so Ben Crooks should be able to get past him in the race. Ben Crooks is coming out the final corner, and yes, Ben Crooks has gone past Giuseppe Churchill for 22nd. What he'll be looking to do is take advantage of other people's misfortune. Of course, if you don't finish the race, you don't score points. Finish at least 75% of the race. So close now between John Wilson and James Johnson. I thought John Wilson was going to cut across the front of the RPM driver then, but he didn't, and all was well in the end. Leader Slemo, of course, still there in 7th position. You know, the rest of the positions as Wilson fights with James Johnson for that lead. Into this complex they go. They really are line astern. Should allow Strauss to catch up, but they are actually still pulling away from Strauss. Strauss is not gaining at all. Not fighting too much. The hard battle there for the braking zone, and Johnson is just so good, it looks like at the moment. It just has so much more speed. Perhaps he's running slightly less wing than Wilson, or maybe it's just the slipstream of effect. They cross the line again, separated by just a few tenths of a second. Two to be exact. Matching each other stride for stride at the moment. I think Johnson has slightly more wing on his car, because Johnson seems to gain on him down this straight. That's just a slipstream, but Wilson seems to have the pace in the opening sector. Of course, downforce will help. Johnson not as close that time around. Wilson just about catches the car coming off the corner also as well. Lap times haven't dropped off just yet, still in the 54s. So the drivers are doing very well indeed to look after their tyres. It's a 53 lap race, so still 30 laps to go, of course. Drivers often talk about reaching the cliff in terms of performance. Crooks is stuck in behind a great battle between Norbert Leitner and Kjell Stenbeck. Here it is. Crooks is definitely trying to unlap himself, get forward through the field. Of course, he can't be too pushy, of course, being 2 laps down on these drivers. And Leitner and Stenbeck are going at it, hammer and tong. Crooks having to get out of the way. Leitner is not happy, I don't think, at all about Crooks being in the way. But Leitner can't seem to do anything about the Bundaberg red racing car of Kjell Stenbeck. Ben Crooks naturally will think, just let me pass, guys, I'm much faster, got much fresher tyres, and I'm not a threat to your positions anyway. Never Leitner just decides that he wants to have a go, and Crooks has hit the back of Norbert Leitner. As a result of all this shenanigans, Leitner instant reactions to correct that though. Back at the front of the field, Wilson still leading from James Johnson, managed to hold off any challenges from Johnson in the last 2 laps. Again, Johnson gets a great slipstream down the straight. Wilson comes across ever so slightly, but no contact. Both give each other a perfect amount of room. And this is a great battle between Johnson and Wilson for the lead of this race. Right. Strauss is a passenger, just watching at the moment in this battle, not involved at all. Spectator even, never met another passenger. It's obviously driving extremely hard. These two really have progressed throughout the season. We've seen James Johnson off the pace at the start of the season, but has got better and better and better. And we've seen the culmination of that now. Not made any mistakes. Of course, he's got to second place slightly fortuitously as a result of other people's crashes, but people can't drive fast without crashing. They should not drive at all, and Wilson goes defensive to the inside. This is the closest Johnson's been, the furthest up alongside his fellow Englishman he has been. He goes around the outside, there's no room there really isn't. Sometimes just as fast around the outside of that corner when you're on a hot lap, but when somebody else in the way, doesn't work at all. That times have dropped into the 55 now, as you can see. The Crux has managed to lap himself from Stenbeck and Leitner after that contact. Philip Antonio has been into the pits. On lap 27 now, we are expecting pit stops very, very soon, but that time is still fairly competitive. That was John Wilson. I stay out as long as I could. Of course, it could get cut under by James Johnson. Leitner has got past Stenbeck in the battle off screen. Finally, Norbert makes that move stick after his small mistake earlier, sent him back several places. This is the problem with this league. Make a small mistake, you are punished 10 times over. Is that heading into the pit? Can't quite see. Look like Jeff Dobbing perhaps. Torborg has pitted, Tobias Schlemer has pitted, Eike Roding has pitted also as well. Wasn't Jeff Dobbing heading the pits? Who was it? It was Josh Barr into the pit, sorry. You can just see the black side of the car. Lamo has rejoined the race in 15th, still behind Jesper Torborg, of course. Jesper Torborg now is the only driver not a lap down. It's a good job there's no safety cars in this race, else those drivers, Schlemo and below, will be stuck a lap down should a safety car come out now. Wilson goes slightly deep into there, still managed to get it back into the apex of the corner though. Lee Palmer's going to the pits now as well. Jeff Dobbing is carrying on. Stenbeck into the pits. Lennon is into the pits as well. Steve Davis is pitting. The two leaders are still not pitting, which is unusual. Thought they would have pitted by now. They need to pit this time around because Strauss is pitting, and on those fresh tyres he's going to eat into that gap. They need to pit this time around, as Strauss will undercut them and they will lose out. That times are firmly in the 55s now, really. Leitner comes into the pits now as well. In sixth place at the moment. Junt carries on. Strauss is just entering his pits. That means Junt is now to fourth. He hasn't pitted now. There is Nielsen. These two need to pit now. If they don't pit now, they're going to get undercut very, very easily. Come out of the corner. Johnson get a great move out of the corner there. They're both going to go into the pits. No, they're not. Wilson carries on. Wilson carries on. I think that's the wrong move, and I really do. So Wilson is now firmly leading this race, of course, because of the pit stops from everybody. Leitner's into the pits as well. Here's Schlemo and Lennon at it once again. Lennon now in 8th position. Has Nielsen and Johnson ahead of him to pit. He should pick up the position from Nielsen, be back into 7th. You've got Junt and Ilevanov to pit also as well, so Lennon should be up to 5th position. He'll be very, very pleased with that. I'm not quite sure how that has come about. Well, he was in 6th before. Who's made the mistake? Well, Ivanov was very, very quick into the pits there. He might have just sped, but he might just get away with it as well. Nielsen. The pit still is Steve Davis. Why is Steve Davis still in the pits? There he is now, just rejoining. Very, very strange. Strauss into the pits again as well. Strauss is into the pits again. Has he sped in the pit lane? He must have. I can't even find him. Here we are. Strauss into the pits. He must have sped into the pit lane. Oh, it's a schoolboy error from Florian. Wilson pits, of course. Guntin is in also. It's all happening at the moment. It's difficult to keep track. Yes, Strauss is now down 12 as a result of that. Could be right about 10th. But it's looking like a battle between Johnson and Wilson. And let's get back to that battle then, because Wilson has finished his pit stop. He's exiting the pit lane now. I can't get to him. There is Wilson. And in behind is James Johnson, so Wilson's got a bigger gap. Wilson has a bigger gap. Staying out one lap longer has worked wonders for him. Perhaps he started with a higher fuel load. But whatever the reason, he's not had to fill up so much as James Johnson. And James Johnson is now 2.6 seconds behind. Instead of being perfectly close, he's right behind the generation driver. He's 2 seconds back. It will take maybe a lap for Wilson to be back to full speed, so Johnson should be 2 seconds back perhaps at the end of this lap. But Wilson is in control of this race. I do love this Pukekohe circuit. It always provides excellent racing and or surprise results. John Wilson crosses the line. The gap between him and James Johnson is 1.9 seconds. So now John Wilson has to absolutely get the hammer down. Again though, the pit stops for James Johnson have not worked at all. Lost 7 seconds last week to Tobias Schlemmer. Not as much this time of course, but still. In 4th place of course now is Garland because of Strauss's problem. 5th is Schlemmer. And his 2 championship rivals are way down the field. So what looked like being points lost for Schlemmer is now being points gained, which is quite extraordinary. And Strauss is a lap down. Strauss is the first driver. I'm not sure if he's a lap down actually. That could be that's the overlay. I'm afraid he's 36 seconds behind. He's not a lap down. But he's 36 seconds now off the lead as a result of all that. I tell you, Ben Crooks is in 20th position now. He's picked up a position from Antonia and Magnez. That's another 9 points he's picked up. Pretty much 3 points per position. I'm not quite sure if he has to pit again though. I think it's going to be nip and tuck. Pitted on lap 13. Whether he can go 40 laps on one tank, really not sure. Not confident. But there is Florian Strauss. There is Junt. He's ahead of him of course. Now Stembeck and Brock and Leitner. Steve Davis seems to be in the pits for an absolute lifetime. He stopped in the pits as well, so I don't think he's sped. It was very unusual indeed. It means that Levanov is up to 15th, Bonet 14th, Venari 13th. And this Ben Crooks in 20th position. Next is list is Steve Davis. Amusing battle. Norbert Light watching there. There's Anders Nielsen. There is Ike Roding in 6th position. I think it's Roding who's lost the positions to Gary Lennon, because yes, it must be Roding. Roding's had a very poor pit stop. Lost those positions to Lennon. That's what I was trying to think of, who had dropped position. Because Lennon would have been 5th rather than 6th, but now he's in 4th, with destroying Strauss of course. But it was Ike Roding as well who lost position. He's challenging his fellow German, Tobias Schlemmer. Challenging him for that 5th position. Schlemmer still not on the pace at all. He's going to try and go around the outside. If you get this stop, it would be a great move. Just completely outbraked his fellow German then. Schlemmer back to 6th. Lennon is in 4th. Jesper Torborg is in 3rd. This is a promotion really for Torborg because his main 3 rivals throughout the season are now way down the field. Of course, he's 4 seconds back from the lead of this race. James Johnson still 1.8 seconds behind John Wilson, 54.289 for the driver. And I'm right, Ben Crooks did not manage to be able to make the rest of this race. So he's pitted now, put fresh tyres on, fresh boots, going out there to enjoy himself, see how many positions he can pick up. As a result of that pit stop, he's now back to 23rd once again. Difficult weekend for Ben Crooks, but he still should pick up a haul of points. Porsche Slamo in 6th, Strauss in 12th. It could be a lot worse. Who was that kicking up the dust there? Like that was Wilson kicking the dust up. And once again Wilson pulls out 2 tenths in the final sector by going on the grass. Something to do that in qualifying. Really absolutely hanging that car out. Craig Lown style. James Johnson has improved throughout the season. And Tim Slade. Jesper Torborg has just struggled slightly this season. He's been strong all season, but not quite able to make a challenge for a win. A bit like a Garth Tander, really. Before you guys correct me, Tander has won this season, I know, but not really been where he should have been. And who shall we compare Gary Leonard to? He's old, so we'll compare him to Russell Ingall. I think Leonard is Russell Ingall. He'll like the fact that I've said that. Trust me. Ike Roding is in 5th still. And Schlemo has not given up on that position. He's still very, very close in behind. James Johnson still trading times with John Wilson. He's gained 4/10 on that lap on John Wilson. .378 on that last lap from John Wilson. From James Johnson, sorry. John Wilson's a 54.575. Said his fastest lap of the race on the lap previous to this. Just getting out of the way there is Nikola Ilivanov as well. And there is James Johnson, 1.7 seconds back. See the lap times this time around. 54.7 from John Wilson, that's not really good enough. But James Johnson can only manage a 54.6. There is James Johnson. Is he going to get his first win, or is he going to get another podium? Is he going to be so near, but yet so far? Once again, the RPM driver. Or will he come back and challenge John Wilson in the final 15 laps of this race? Apologies for the delay to the race, guys, but it has been worth waiting for. Gap is still 1.7 seconds. 54.4 from both drivers there, really. Gallon is in 4th place. Strong result for him, but he's way back, 17 seconds down. 5th is, as I was saying, Ike Roding. Strong result for him. I think he's gaining on Gary Lennon. Sweekos are in 4th and 7th. And a bit of a battle in the championship between Sweekos and RPM in the teams for the 3rd place in the championship. And this will be helping Sweekos, of course, with 4th and 7th, with RPM will be in 2nd and 13th. Ben Crooks is still in 23rd position as a result of all that. You see Anders Nielsen their lap on an Esper Brock. Got Norbert Leitner right in behind him. A great recovery drive really from Norbert at the moment. Got back to 12th or 13th at one point. Johnson is ever so slightly gaining on John Wilson. He needs to gain a little bit faster. 5 or 6 laps he was behind him towards the end of that last stint. Of the first stint, sorry. He couldn't find a way past. Maybe needs a little bit more time this time around. 1.2 seconds of gap now. Marcel Bonnet must have got in the way of John Wilson. Looks like he might get in the way a little bit here of James Johnson also. Well, James Johnson all over the place there, just trying to stay out of the way of hitting the Spanish driver. Marcel Bonnet just about gets out of the way in the end. 1.1 seconds gap between James Johnson and John Wilson now. The race is on. John Wilson is hanging that car out sideways through the second part of the complex. Very, very smooth from James Johnson, but he might have been compromised. No, he's not. 0.8 seconds is a gap between Johnson and Wilson. 0.8 seconds. Just 3.6 now for Jesper Torborg as well. But look at the gap, the traffic that Jesper Torborg has to deal with. There are 3 drivers ahead of him before he can even get to James Johnson. Ben Crooks continues in last position. About to overtake Roy Magnez, I believe, though. Take the 22nd. 3 points. Shame for him, the last 3 races have just been recovery and damage limitation. After this round we go to Phillip Island for the Phillip Island 500. That's where we bring co-drivers in. It's where big points are available as well. Double points of course for the endurance races. And then from there we go the mighty Mount Panorama, round 10. James Johnson continues to track his rival. Lost a little bit of ground there in the second sector. Esper Torbog has negotiated all of that traffic, not lost much ground either. So he's going to be there sniffing around if other drivers falter. Torbog's not completely out of the championship race yet. He is in 3rd position. He will gain a bundle of points of the drivers around him in the championship. With Schlemo in 6th. Florian Strauss in 9th, of course even. Lisp came out there. Ben Crooks in 22nd. Ben Crooks is about to overtake Giuseppe Churchill though for 21st, so another 3 points for him. .9 seconds now the gap between James Johnson and John Wilson. He's just calmed down ever slightly. John has just stabilised that gap. A couple of sloppy lap times contributed towards by the traffic, but still. Gap now just 0.6 seconds though. Looks like a repeat of the end of the first stint. It's a repeat of much of the races James Johnson has been involved with this season. It's stronger and stronger towards the end of the stint. Looks after his tyres so well it seems. Flash across the line once again. Overall on that lap, John Wilson had lost a slight bit of ground and James Johnson is smelling blood. Smell the exhaust fumes of the driver ahead now. John Wilson just needs to keep it tidy, not look at his mirrors, keep his head down even. Eyes forward. Steve Davis there back in 16th position. Quite sure what happened at the pit stop with him. He seems to be there for an absolute age. Didn't appear to be a driver either because he didn't stop. But never mind. After the front is hotting up. James Johnson looking for his first Touring Pro Series win, but so is John Wilson. John Wilson is a rookie in this series. James Johnson competed in 2010. But he's 3rd overall in the championship. Ahead of Ben Crooks in fact. 4th overall championship, sorry. Hannah Colasola came 3rd, I believe. Or my memory might be playing tricks with me. Either way, James Johnson finished well up in the championship last season. Again without winning a race. Will be his first race win if he can just get past that darn blue car ahead of him. Staring at the back of it all race long. It must appear black to him, to be fair. He's back now This is a view out of the back of John Wilson's car looking at James Johnson. The gap is just half a second now, and Jesper Torborg is losing touch with these guys. Hook the inside there, make the shortest route he can down the straight, which actually has a big kink in it, but a straight nevertheless it is. Oh, and John looks like he went slightly offline there, and Wilson, James closed so quickly then. Getting closer and closer. It's going to be a fight to the death now. 5 laps. Johnson has 5 laps. Look at him get the great toe out the corner. Once again he has to go to the outside. And once again John Wilson holds the position. John Wilson is trying his hardest to hold on the position, and James Johnson is trying his hardest to get past. This is a great battle of wills here. Great battle of skill. Flying past at 280 kilometers an hour down that back straight. And John, look how hard he pushes into that first part of the complex. He seems to harm him through the second part, but as long as he sorts it out through the exit, he doesn't have a problem. Should these two touch, of course, Jesper Torborg is waiting in the wings. We don't want that to happen. We want a clean battle for the win. John Wilson, of course, lost 2 positions earlier in the race from a tap by Florian Strauss. Accidental it was, but still a tap nonetheless. And John Wilson just kept his head down, didn't get angry, didn't go clashing with any of the drivers. Just got on with his race, and he's found himself in the lead of this race as a result of mistakes from both 3ID drivers and Florian Strauss. Those went with on lap 13. Ben Crooks demolished his car coming off the final turn. It was a surprise that really could keep going, really. Huge damage to the rear, especially the rear left of the car. Florian Strauss made a mistake earlier in the race as well. Went wide on to the grass, almost spun it. Managed to keep going, and Jesper Torborg, another one who made a mistake. Went wide on the grass and to drive around through the gravel trap. Almost looked like he was very early on the brakes there. James Johnson closed massively on him. Again, James Johnson is going wide. He needs to go inside. He needs to follow John Wilson through that corner, I think, and try somewhere else. John Wilson has his measure. Just pushes James Johnson to the outside every single time. James looks like he's trying his hardest, though. Just needs to think of an alternative place to get through. Just needs a better exit from this section, perhaps. He gets great slipstreams. Get all the way around the outside. He needs to force the issue, really. He's too far back. Once again, John Wilson gets good exit. Once again, James Johnson will gain in that slipstream. There's a couple of lapped cars ahead of them. Cars to be lapped, in fact. Virtual and Roy Magnez, they'll play a part in the outcome of this race. Oh, and James Johnson almost out of shape, almost doing what Norbert Leitner did earlier in the race. Just about caught it. That's how hard he's trying, but look at the gap. Look at that gap now that John Wilson has. Going on to the penultimate lap of the race. This is lap 52, and John Wilson has at 0.8 seconds of a gap now. It's going to take at least a lap for James Johnson to catch up, which means he has perhaps one. Look at him diving over the corners, over the curbs even, sorry. He has probably 1 lap to have a go, 1 lap to catch up, and 1 lap to have a go at John Wilson for his evasive first win. Jesper Torborg has dropped way back now. Torborg does not be able to look after his tyres in these cars. Often see him drop back further and further at the end of the stint, and he often pits first as well. Mike Schlemmer was in fifth, so he's seen off Ike Roding. There is Ben Crooks trying desperately to get past and lap himself. Try and get up towards Philip Antonio, which will be his next point. James Johnson 0.7 seconds back now. And the final lap of the race we go on to. And the gap between John Wilson and James Johnson is 0.7 seconds. Can John Wilson do it? He heads around turn 1. Just needs to keep it all together. Nice flowing corners he needs to produce. Good exit from here will help him no end. And it's a perfect exit from there. He gets the car going. James Johnson is trying his hardest to catch up, but it looks like it's not going to happen. Down the long straight they come, reaching 280 kilometers per hour. John Wilson has a big gap on his fellow countryman James Johnson. He gets it beautifully out of the final hairpin for the final time. Here's the penultimate corner. Here is the final corner. Don't run into the grass now, John. Let's see what you can do. He can. He crosses the line. John Wilson is going to cross the line as a race winner in this World V8 Supercars 2011 season. Fantastic performance there from John. Second place, James Johnson. Third was Jesper Torborg. Fourth place will be Gary Lennon. A great result for him. Here comes the Scottish drivers. Cross the line in fourth. Strong race from him. Fifth place, Tobias Schlemo. He gains more ground in the championship after troubles for the rest of his championship contenders. Sixth place, Roding. Seventh here was Leitner. Eighth now will be Florian Strauss. Ninth here is Anders Nielsen. 10th place, a top 10 results for David Juntz for Nijo Racing. 11th place will be this driver here, Kjell Stenberg. And he's the final driver to not be lapped. That's how fast the pace was at the front of the field on the track that's usually extremely close in racing. 12th, Vinari. 13th, Ilivano. 14th, Dobbin. 15th, Steve Davis. 16th, Lee Palmer. 17th, Ernesto Brock. 18th, Josh Barton. 19th, Bonnet. 20th, Antonia. 21st was Ben Crooks. 22nd was Roy Magnez. In fact, I think 22nd was Giuseppe Churchill, but he's left the game. In fact, where is Giuseppe Churchill? Churchill would DNF him quick with 5 laps to go, so Giuseppe Churchill finished 23rd, so Roy Magnez finished 22nd. Congratulations, though, to John Wilson. What a fantastic result for him. After the trials and tribulations of the summer he's had, he's come to Pukekohe and taken a fantastic result. Very, very well done to him. Second place, again, James Johnson just can't get that win. Third place, another podium for Jesper Torborg. Again, though, just like Johnson, cannot get that elusive win.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
And as the drivers congratulate John Wilson for the win in this race, Tobias Schlemo, of course, has extended his championship lead. He joins us again in 3 weeks' time, where we'll be racing at Phillip Island for the first co-driver endurance race of the season. It'll be a fantastic event, 400 kilometers in store, 2.5 hours long. It'll be very, very exciting indeed, with the non-championship drivers involved, so lots of new faces we'll have, and it'll be interesting to see which new faces can help the championship and which ones can hinder it. So join us again in 3 weeks' time, and I'll have all the action for you once again on multi-BC or simsport.tv. And it's Stream 4 that we're always on. But for now, and for the rest of the drivers in the V8 Supercars Championship, World V8 Supercars 2011 season, I bid you goodbye.